Assalamu alaikum. My name is Dr. Faisal, and today my topic of presentation is urological investigations. In this presentation, we will learn about the urine detailed report, cytology, hematological investigation which are done in urology, ultrasound scan, and plain X-ray. Urine analysis. The component of the urine analysis is physical or gross examination. The second component is dipstick chemical analysis, microscopic analysis, culture, and cytological examination. All urine samples should be examined within 1 hour of collection and plated for culture and sensitivity if indicated. If not possible to examine the urine promptly, then it should be refrigerated at 5 degrees centigrade. For urine analysis, the first step is to collect a clean cage urine sample. In male, one has to retract the foreskin or clean the glands along with the external urethral meatus before collecting the sample. The first voided the morning sample should be collected in male along with it should be midstream urine sample to avoid contamination which are present the normal flora at the urethra, and it should be free of debris. In female, there are increased chances of getting a contaminated sample, so care must be taken to avoid any getting any contaminated sample or debris. So usually in a female patient who has recurrent history of UTI or antibiotic resistant urinary tract infection, a catheterized sample should be recommended. In neonates and infants, sterile plastic bag with an adhesive collar is available, which is used for collecting samples. But there are increased chances that these samples are contaminated because of containing normal skin flora. Our suprapubic aspirate is usually recommended in such patients, but it is invasive. This is the adhesive plastic bag which are easily available for collecting urine sample in neonates or pediatric patients. First of all, the macroscopic examination. The normal color of the urine is pale yellow because of the presence of urochrome, or it could be colorless secondary to dilution. Various food, medical products, medications, and infection may produce abnormal color of the urine. So if the urine color is milky or cloudy, it could be secondary to pyuria or because of the phosphate urea. If it is red, it could be secondary to hematuria, myoglobinuria, hemoglobin urea, lead poisoning, or rifampicin. There are other causes, but these are the common causes of patient who has hematuria or red color urine. The color of the urine is orange. It could be secondary to dehydration or sulfasalazine poisoning or the normal dose of the sulfasalazine. Brown color urine could be secondary to porphyria, chloroquine, metronidazole, the most common one, or it could be secondary to the antibiotic which is commonly used in urology. It is nitrofurantoin. Brown color or brownish black color urine color could be secondary to methyl dopa, or it could be secondary to altered blood, which is a delayed hemorrhage or clot in the bladder or urinary tract. Normally, the urine odor is ammonia-like because of the normal organism which is present, but it could be secondary to the pathogenic bacteria such as Proteus, Pseudomonas, Nocardia, or Klebsiella, which split urea. The foul smell urine or offensive urine could be secondary to pyuria or inflammation, or it could be secondary to the old specimen because of the enzymatic activity of the normal organism present in urine. The fruity ordered urine is secondary to ketoacidosis, usually in diabetic patients. The chemical analysis via dipstick, it is a quick test which can give you result in 2 minutes. It is highly sensitive and it is cheap, and easily available in clinic setting. There are 10 parameters which can be checked on a dipstick analysis. It is a short plastic strip with small markers paired that are impregnated with different chemical reagents which react with abnormal substance in the urine to produce a colorimetric change. So on the left side, we can see that there are 10 parameters that can be checked, and it is color coded. Out of these parameters, which are we can check leukocytes, nitrites, urobilinogen, protein, pH, blood, specific gravity, ketones, bilirubin, and glucose. These substances, if there are WBCs in the urine, these substances cross-react with the reagent which is present in this paired. So, and it changes according to the enzymatic activities of the leukocyte, the peroxidase like activities of the leukocytes, and the color changes subsequently according to the concentration of the WBCs in the urine specimen. It is negative, and subsequently with increased enzymatic activity, the color changes to purple and so on. Same is dead for the glucose, bilirubin, protein, and RBCs and other things. We will discuss one by one. So the normal specific gravity according to different literature is between 1.015 to 1.025, but in Campbell it is written that the normal specific gravity is 1.008 to 1.020. It reflects the patient's state of hydration, abnormal renal function, and renal concentrating ability. Less than 1.008 specific gravity indicates the diluted urine. It could be secondary to diuretics, diabetic insipidus, renal tubular disease, or the condition which cause diluted urine. And the specific gravity greater than 1.020 is considered concentrated urine. It could be secondary to glucoseuria, syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, and dehydration. The pH. In general, the urine pH reflects the pH in serum. The normal urine pH is 4.5 to 8. The average is taken as 5.5 to 6.5. The urine is considered acidic when the pH is 4.5 to 5.5, and alkaline if the pH is between 5.5 to 8. In metabolic and respiratory acidosis, the urine pH is acidic and vice versa. Except in renal tubular acidosis, the pH is alkaline because of the loss of bicarbonate. There are different type of renal tubular acidosis, and it has seen that all these subtypes excrete bicarb in the urine, which turns the normal acidic pH of the urine into alkaline. Urea splitting organism, most commonly protease, convert ammonia into ammonium ion, markedly elevated urine pH. It could be more than 7.5 and causes precipitation of calcium, magnesium, ammonium phosphate crystal, which results crystallization and stag stone. Usually the infective stone is formed the most commonly because of protease, which is a urea splitting organism. Urine pH is acidic in the patient with uric acid and cystine stones. Alkalinization of urine is important in therapy of both conditions. Hematuria. Normally, there are less than 3 RBCs per high power field excreted in the urine. The microscopic hematuria is defined as greater than 3 RBCs per high power field is present on microscopic examination. It is known as hematuria. The sensitivity of dipstick to detect blood in urine is greater than 90%. The degree of color change is directly related to the amount of hemoglobin present in the urine specimen. peroxidase activity of Hb cross-react with the reagent which is present on the dipstick and produce characterized color according to the concentration. Hematuria can be distinguished from myoglobinuria or hemoglobinuria by microscopic examination of centrifuge urine cell, and if there is color change on the dipstick, there could be myoglobinuria, hemoglobinuria, or it could be blood. So we can identify RBCs on the slides during microscopic examination to differentiate what kind of cells or hemoglobin is there. The false positive result can occur during menstruation in females and dehydration and vigorous exercise. Hematuria with nephrologic origin is frequently associated with cast in urine and almost always associated with significant proteinuria. Urological causes of hematuria is unlikely to elevate protein concentration in the urine into 100 to 300 milligram per dl, and if it is +2 or +3, it could be, or it is more likely to be secondary to glomerular or tubulointerstitial origin, which are the nephrological cause of proteinuria, hematuria. Dysmorphic shape of RBCs on microscopy indicated hematuria from glomerular origin, while urological causes and tubulointerstitial causes are uniformly round shape. Anticoagulant at normal therapeutic dose does not cause hematuria. There are the list of different few of the different causes of hematuria. Out of these are glomerular nephritis, sickle cell disease, exercise, urinary tract infection, malignancy, trauma, renal artery thrombosis, arteriovenous malformation, surgery, NSAID abuse, renal, ureteric or vesical stone, or benign prostatic hyperplasia. Proteinuria, normally the protein which are excreted in the urine is between 80 to 150 milligram per day. Out of these protein, 30% are albumin, 30% of globulin, and 40%, the major portion of the protein, are TEM, horsefall protein, which are the tissue protein that are excreted in the urine. Proteinuria may be the first indication of renovascular, glomerular, or tubulointerstitial disease, or it may represent the overflow of the abnormal protein, like those are seen in multiple myeloma, the Benz-Jones proteinuria. Most common type results from increased glomerular capillary permeability to proteins, specifically to albumin. In glomerular disease, about 1 to 3 gram of protein can be lost in 24 hours. False negative result can occur in alkaline urine, diluted urine, or the primary protein present is not albumin. If qualitative test reveals proteinuria, this should be quantitated with a 24-hour urinary collection. Immunoassay is the method of choice for detecting specific proteins such as Benz-Jones protein in multiple myeloma. There are 3 types of proteinuria, which are transient, intermittent, or persistent. In transient proteinuria, it occurs commonly in pediatric groups and resolves spontaneously, so there is no need to investigate further. In adults, the causes could be secondary to stress, exercise, fever, or congestive heart failure. In intermittent proteinuria, it is related to postural changes, and orthostatic proteinuria is secondary to increased pressure on the renal vein while standing, and it resolves spontaneously. The persistent proteinuria is commonly due to glomerular disease, and it needs further investigation according to the etiology and qualitative proteinuria. Glucose and ketones. Although all the glucose filter in the glomerular is reabsorbed, Renal threshold corresponding to serum glucose is about 180 milligram per dl, and above this level, glucose will be detected in urine. Glucose normally not excreted in urine, and almost all the glucose is absorbed in proximal convoluted tubules. Ketones will appear in urine before the serum in diabetic ketoacidosis or severe fasting or prolonged fasting. Dipstick will detect acetoacetic acid at a concentration of 5 to 10 milligram per dl, and below this level it could not be detected. The causes of glucoseuria or ketonuria are diabetes mellitus, diabetic ketoacidosis, or the ketoaciduria.
One very common cause these days is people who are taking ketogenic diet. They are having ketones in their urine.
Yes. Bilirubin or urobilinogen. Normally, urine does not contain bilirubin and contains only small amount of urobilinogen, which is a byproduct of excreted from the liver as a bile metabolism. False negative result can occur in the presence of ascorbic acid, which is a vitamin C. Causes are jaundice. It could be secondary to hepatic or extrahepatic causes of jaundice. Leukocyte esterase activity indicates the presence of WBCs in the urine. The sensitivity of test decreases with the time because the neutrophils which are present in the urine lysed, and there could be the false negative result. Majority of the causes of false positive leukocyte esterase is contamination. So care must be taken to collect a clean KH urine sample which is free of any contamination or debris. Presence of nitrites in the urine in the urine is strongly suggestive for bacteriuria. Sensitivity of the test, dipstick test to detect nitrites and the sensitivity of the test is 35 to 80%, while specificity is greater than 90%. It is less accurate if the urine specimen contains less than 10 raised to power 5 organism per ml. And the microscopic examination. The method for doing microscopic examination is, first we have to centrifuge the sample. We have to take 10 to 15 ml of urine, which should be centrifuged at 3000 revolutions per minute on centrifuge machine for 5 minutes. The sediment is taken on a glass slide for microscopic examination, and at least 10 to 20 microscopic fields should be examined before concluding result. On low power magnification, we can identify RBCs, WBCs, casts, cystine crystals, and parasites like schistosomiasis and Trichomonas vaginalis. On high power magnification, we can identify what is the shape of the RBCs and the type of crystals, and identify the types of bacteria and yeast. So here we can see the RBCs cause, which is visualized on a microscopic high power field examination under a microscope. Here we can see a WBC cast. The arrow shows the WBCs. Usually the cast is it is a coagulum of protein which contains the cells, and it is formed in the tubules of the kidney. Here we can see the glandular cast. The arrow shows the protein coagulum along with the matrix. So these are the crystal calcium oxalate crystals, and it is octahedral in shape. And these are usually present in urine, or it could be excreted in the patient who has calcium oxalate crystals. These are the cystine crystal, which are kernelless, and it is hexagonal in shape. This is the hexagonal shape of the cystine crystal in the urine. The triphosphate crystals in the urine, it is also known as coffin lids, which are seen in the urine. Here we can see clearly the shape of the crystal like coffin lid, and these are usually colorless. This is the uric acid crystals in the urine, and this is the parasite which is present. It is known as schistosomias. Here we can see on slide A the normal cells that are shedded in the urine, the normal urological cell, and on the slide B we can see the malignant cell which are excreted in urothelial carcinoma of the urinary tract. This is the light microscopic view of the urine, which shows squamous cell in the urine. It contains pale blue cytoplasm and dark nucleus, hypochromatic. There are many hematological investigations which can aid our diagnosis after history and examination. Out of these are CBCs like raised WBC count or WBC counts on neutrophils indicates infective process along the urinary tract, and the urea creatinine electrolytes indicates the intrinsic function of the kidney, and PT-APDT, the coagulation profile is needed for the possible surgical intervention that is to be due. The serum calcium and parathyroid hormone, which is done usually to see the calcium level in the serum along with its different pathologies. The uric acid level serum the uric acid level in the serum, oxalate and cysteine level, and the metabolic study. It also indicates it should be done in the patient who has history of stone disease or recurrent stone formers. The genetic study is done in the patient who has hyperoxaluria. The genetic condition and the enzymatic deficiencies which result in recurrent renal stone formation. The PSA, it is produced by the prostatic luminal epithelial cell. The normal value is less than 4 nanogram per dl, and the greater than 4 PSA is strongly suggestive of malignancy of the prostate, and it should be ruled out with investigations and examinations. Alpha-fetoprotein, it is raised in a yolk sac tumor of the testis. The beta-HCG is raised in choriocarcinoma. Prolactin, testosterone, FSH and LH, these investigations are indicated in a patient who has sign and symptoms of hypogonadism. The cortisol level is raised is in adrenal tumors, and VMA level is raised in pheochromocytoma. So ultrasound, it is a cheap modality to investigate the upper urinary tract and some of the lower urinary tract pathologies. It is widely available and it does not have any radiation or contrast. But the drawback is that it is not good for the ureter as well as it is operator dependent. So here we can see the normal kidney which contains the normal renal cortex. The size is same and the echogenicity is same, and there is no pathology like stone, mass, cyst or seen in this normal kidney, and there is no hydronephrosis. So here we can see a tiny stone at the lower pole of the kidney which shows a posterior orchestic shadow, and we can easily identify the renal stone on ultrasound. Here we can see the different grades of hydronephrosis. It is clearly indicated a distal urinary tract obstruction outside the pelviuretic junction. Here we can see the mild calyceal dilatation along with the pelvis, and the cortex is normal and there is no stone seen in this ultrasound. And the hydronephrosis progresses and the cortex size decreases as the hydronephrosis is hydronephrosis progress because of the distal obstruction. Here we can see there is a homogeneous lesion arising from the lower pole of the kidney without any internal echoes. There is no other pathology seen in the kidney. It is a simple renal cyst. There is a mass rising from the lower pole of the kidney which is 5.3 centimeter and of the right kidney, and it is clear suggestive that further investigation should be done to rule out the malignancy in the kidney. This is the CDI of the scrotum. On the right side we can see on the left side we can see that there is a clear vascular flow in the testis, and on the left side of the testis there is no flow, which is strongly suggestive of torsion of the left testis. Here we can see the normal testis which is present surrounded by fluid and epididymis which is normally present, and it has echoes in it. It is suggestive of infective hydrocele or the scrotal abscess. This is an ultrasound of the bladder which shows as a echogenic material with posterior orchestic shadow. It is a vesical stone. Here is a prostate which is of 148 volume, which can be seen on ultrasound of the prostate done specifically for the ultrasound. There are also other modalities like transrectal ultrasound which can aid or give clear result about the volume of the prostate. There is a growth which arises from the base of the left base of the urinary bladder, along with another growth on the left side of the ultrasound. It is strongly suggestive of papillary carcinoma of the bladder, and cystoscopy with biopsy should be done in this patient for further investigation and management. Plain X-ray KUB, it is a cheap and easily available, but it has a drawback of radiation exposure. 25% of the stone are radiolucent and hence cannot be visualized on plain X-ray KUB. So this is a normal plain X-ray which shows right kidney, left kidney, and there is a gastric shadow on the left side of the abdomen. There is a splenic shadow, and there is a liver which can be visualized on an X-ray. The colon and the rectum shadow, air in the rectum indicates the gut, and there is no pathology seen beside this. We can also see there is a spine. We can comment on a X-ray KUB, AP view, and pelvis. Here we can see radio opacities on both sides of the kidney, the renal region, along with a vesical radio opacity which is indicated of Stagon stone on bilateral kidneys along with vesical stone. There is no clear pathology seen in spine and pelvis. Here we can see a proximal radio opacity at the renal region along with the proximal ureter region. It is a proximal ureteric stone along with a renal stone. And there is here we can see that the bowel is loaded with gases or feces. The patient might be constipated, and there is no pathology seen in pelvis and supine. Here we can see there is a urethral stone which is stuck in the urethra, and the patient might have signs and symptoms of acute urinary retention. There is also a malunion on the left side of the femur, proximal femur, and no other pathology in the bladder is seen on this X-ray. Thank you.
सर आप रिमार्क्स दे दें सीनियर मोस्ट.
So these are basically the baseline investigation that are usually performed in urology. So urine DR and the ultrasound. These are the most commonly performed investigations in urology. The urine DR is also known as a poor man's biopsy because it reveals many information, and which we do in our clinic. Many of us have sent urine DR many a time, but unfortunately we don't look at the urine DR in such a way that we can pick some diagnosis or some add your diagnosis. So this is all about. Any question, comment, or?
It was a very well prepared presentation, and I would say that this was very basic but equally important topic. As if you have command on this topic, then you must say that 20 to 25% of your clinical viva is cleared, because viva start from this topic. So it was very basic but important topic, and every resident or even we all should know, should have command on this topic.
And definitely it's very much important in starting the viva in exam, but going towards the patient, these investigations, if you know the little things are inside these investigations, you will be able to diagnose the disease of the patient. Just like if you have a microscopic hematuria patient and you don't know in which patient this hematuria occurs in normal shape RBC and dysmorphic RBC, then you can't interpret it. But if you know it, then you can interpret and you can treat or refer the patient properly. So these minor things will help you a lot in reaching closer to the diagnosis of the patient. That's why everything was focused on it.
This presentation is well prepared, but one comment is you must add the 24 hours urinary creatinine clearance. It must be included.
Yes, you are right. So there are many investigations, but we just included the baseline that the resident should know what are the baseline investigations. So even if you have a presentation, you can have a single presentation only on a urine DR. So there is much information. So this is a focus that the resident should read from textbooks or somewhere, that all information should be gathered. As the resident, for the resident, it's very important to have such a knowledge for all these baseline investigations. So it's particularly for those who are at the initial stage of urology training and all. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.